Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the We Know Ball Show. I know it's been a while. Sorry, but I'm back. A lot of things happened in my personal life. You don't really need to know about it, so don't worry about it. We'll kind of get started here. Gonna start off with kind of some bad stuff that no one really wants to talk about, and then we'll kind of end on some positive stuff, and then we'll get into an introduction to our interview. We have my former head football coach in college. It's a great interview, so tune in and enjoy. Okay, we're gonna get into some serious talk here. We're gonna talk about the Yankees here. Now, I expected us to be good. Expected us to be great. We signed Aaron Judge to this massive deal. He is our captain, our fearless leader. We still have Stanton. We've got Bader. We've got a bunch of guys back. Um, Added Rodon, and you look at our injured list, and we've got an all-star team on there. And then even tonight, I didn't watch the game tonight. First game I haven't watched tonight in 2 years, just because it's hard to watch right now when the product on the field is not worth it. It's just difficult to watch. I love Garrett Cole. He's going out there giving his best stuff, his Cy Young stuff. I appreciate it. Not a lot of guys can go out there and do that kind of stuff. And he's very underrated. He doesn't go on. He's never been on the IL that I can think of. If he has, it hasn't been for very long. And you just want to make sure your team is playing your best ball, especially in April. Yeah, I get it. It's early. We don't want to risk injury, but we already have enough injuries. Let's get our best guys out there and play our best baseball. And yeah, I get it, Judge. You're the captain. You got to play through it all. But if you're stiff, dude, you got to just take a day off. We get it. Like, nobody's expected to play all 162 games. Like, Cal Ripken did it, and it's insane. Like, he played so many consecutive games, it's ridiculous. But it's a different game. It's a different game. And I don't know what to say. Like, everybody kind of expected these high hopes for this team. So did I. But at the same time, I also knew what we were going into because we didn't improve the offense from last year. It's the same offense that we put out there and got swept by the Astros. Now, not saying that the Astros are doing very well right now. They're kind of in the same boat we are. But at the same time, like, we're the Yankees. We need to be the best team in baseball year in and year out, game in and game out. We need to be winning all these games. And it's ridiculous. Like, we shouldn't be getting blown out by the Twins. Like, yeah, we may lose 1 or 2 games to the Twins. Yeah, it happens, whatever. But, like, you getting absolutely destroyed by the Twins. We've got Clark Schmidt out there. We've got Johnny Brito out there. We've got Domingo Herman out there. I mean, the only guys that are true starters are Nestor and Garrett. And we can't even compete. I don't know, man. It's just it's hard. Ready break. On to some lighter news. NFL draft just happened. I was very nervous on the draft. We had with the combine and everything. Big Colts fan, worried about the draft, needed a quarterback. I was super big on CJ Stroud. I knew we weren't going to get Bryce Young. It was impossible. We didn't have the number one pick. He was going to be the number one pick. It was obvious. So got to find a new guy and move on. That being said, you have 3 options. You either get CJ Stroud, Will Levis, or Anthony Richardson. Going into the combine, it's either kind of C.J. Stroud or Will Levis. Anthony Richardson was just kind of getting talked about. Nobody really knew for sure. And then he just goes out and has an absolute show at the combine, show at the pro day, shows how he's an athlete. Biggest thing is only played 13 games. He's super young. Positives and negatives of Will Levis. He's a dog athlete. Same height, a little bit smaller than Anthony Richardson, but he's a competitor. Played a lot of games. Experienced NFL ready guy. Same as CJ Stroud. I think he played in a great offense at Ohio State. Groomed to be an NFL quarterback. Negative, did not do well on his S2 test, which cognition has its positives and negatives. Like he said, you don't go to the NFL to take a test. But at the same time, these tests determine your thinking on the go and your critical thinking skills. So you not doing well on that test kind of just shows that when you are needing to make a quick decision on the fly as a quarterback, we don't know if you're going to be able to make that decision. And critical thinking is, okay, I have some possible options, with an actual option play, like an RPO or some different throws. What's the best one? You need to think critically and on the fly to be able to make that correct read. And getting an 18 on that score is tough, which is why maybe he was bumped down to the second pick, or maybe it didn't affect anything at all. Maybe he was just meant to be number 2. Biggest surprise was the Texans ended up going up to 3 to take Will Anderson. Everybody kind of thought that pick would have been traded for another quarterback like Anthony Richardson or Will Levis or somebody. Nobody thought it would be the Texans, but once it was the Texans, everybody knew it was going to be a defensive guy. Just so happened to be Will Anderson, probably the second best defensive guy on the draft other than Jalen Carter, but we obviously know kind of his issues off the field, plus his pro day, he came on out of shape, which is a problem. You got to come in shape. But, he's going to the Eagles. The Eagles are going to have a bunch of Georgia Bulldogs on that defense. They've got Mingo. They'll have Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and they drafted Nolan Smith super, super late with their own pick. And when we get to pick 4, that was Anthony Richardson. Going into the draft day, I had seen a bunch of people talk Will Levis. He was the guy. Everybody said Indy loves Will Levis. Got the seal of approval early from Peyton, and that's kind of a big thing with Irsay. And I watched a good amount of film on Levis before the draft to kind of just sell myself on him and make sure, I want him to be my guy. And going into the draft, I was like, they might take Anthony Richardson here, and just as the picks kept progressing, I got a little more nervous, and because they weren't showing any film of Levis or Levis was not on camera. It was all like Anthony Richardson. They're showing some Anthony Richardson film, and I was like, they're gonna pick AR. And I did a little bit, I watched his combine stuff just because it was insane, but didn't do a lot of research. Ended up picking him. I was a little upset just because I think experience in game is a huge upside for people, and a quarterback not having a lot of game experience is a downside. Having any game experience at all in the SEC is an upside, and him doing well in the SEC is good, but you need more than just 13 games. So hopefully he sits. I think Gardner Minshew, he's my guy. He's a dog, absolute G. Can't wait to see him on the field as well. We're for the shoe. We're riding it again. Still gonna be Team Burrow, but for the shoe, baby. Let's go Colts. Okay, with that being said, that's kind of all I have right now. We're gonna keep it short and sweet. Don't really have a lot else to talk about. Want to kind of keep these videos a little shorter. Keep your guys' attention. I think the interviews are the best part of the show. So keep that up, keep that fresh. Gonna keep a lot more kind of in like today's news topics as well when I interview some of these guests. So hope you enjoy. This is my head coach, Big Whistle himself, Mr. Josh Anderson. Okay, our next guest on the show is Mr. Coach Josh Anderson. He is the longest tenured Dakota State head coach, and he is the all-time wins head coach at Dakota State. He's also a very close personal friend of mine, as he was my head coach. Got to coach with him. I was his tight ends coach for a little bit as well. So, Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Our spring ball just finished up, so I got all this extra free time now. So I'm excited.
Awesome. Love to see it. Love to see kind of the new progress on the field. Been around it since I was a freshman. Got to see kind of that first initial video. Got that we threw out to a bunch of the recruits, and now it's finally great to see it kind of break ground. It's been a long time coming, and it's great to see that progress. So congratulations.
Yeah, when they first started digging dirt, that was exciting in and of itself, and the fact that this is real and this is going to happen. And so just every day walking out to practice, seeing all that stuff. And there was a bunch of times where we thought, well, they're ready to put the turf down. Then they'd rip it all up and redo it, and probably had to lay a different layer and things like that. I'm not exactly sure how it works or what the process was, but it was really fun to just watch it every day as we walked out there. And then you could see on our home game films, like the North Field side, how there was different things changing all the time too. And so it was just really, really fun. And now lately they've been out there laying down the turf, and then just put out a video today with the drone footage of how things are looking, and it's progressing there. And they got the logo in the middle, the numbers out there, and they're sewing in the lines. And like,
oh, man.
I know there's lots of people that have turf out there, but we don't. And so it's very exciting for us.
Awesome. So we'll kind of get back to that here soon, but just kind of get into the first initial question of the show here. Kind of staple question is this magic moment. So this is kind of a moment in sports where you became a fan of either a certain team. Doesn't necessarily have to be Dakota State. It could be your Bison, could be the Bears, could be the Bulls, the Cubs, anybody. So kind of you have the floor here. So what is kind of your magic moment that made you a fan of sports?
Honestly, growing up, I really wasn't too big into like the college scene, where I probably would be nowadays, just because I just don't really like professional sports and how things have gone. But when I was younger, right around the same time of things, it was probably just a few years apart, but I'm a huge Chicago fan, and it all had to do with Walter Payton. The guy was electric and fun to watch, and everything he did was special. And the Bears were really good at the time, and it's been a long time coming for the Bears, but he was fun to watch. I wanted to be Walter Payton, and then Andre Dawson for the Chicago Cubs also at the same time was just blasting home runs, and Harry Carey was super fun to listen to. And when I lived out in Lee Deadwood, we got like 5 channels, and WGN was one of them, and we got the Chicago Cubs on all the time in the summer, so just watch those games, and it was fun to watch. And then of course Michael Jordan. I mean, he came on that scene right around that same time, and it was just crazy that it was all Chicago. But that's essentially what happened to me. I wanted to be Michael Jordan in the winter for basketball. I wanted to be Walter Payton in the fall for football, and then playing baseball was all about being Andre Dawson. So those were my magic moments. And like I said, it was all kind of when I was in that 8 to 12 year range, when I really started paying attention and trying to learn moves and trying to learn different things in all different kinds of sports. So that for me was it. Those guys were fun to watch.
Absolutely. Those are some great guys, some absolutely like iconic players. You think of Jordan, in my opinion, he's the greatest basketball player of all time. No debate, no question about it. Biggest thing for me is he's 6 for 6 in the finals.
Well, yeah, it's just hard to argue against. And I love his answers when it comes to it, how he's always saying, oh, this is the greatest team. You're the greatest player of all time. And he's like, well, no. I mean, there's different eras and different rules and different levels, because, when Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell were winning everything and doing everything, there was no 3-point line. So it really wasn't like the three-point basket has almost become almost more enjoyable to watch than a dunk, which is crazy to think of because when we were younger, it was all about the dunks and the dunk
Mhm.
contest, which is, but watching Steph Curry hit him from about half court consistently, like that's
It's insane.
exciting. And then watching Caitlin Clark do the same thing in this year's Final Four, like the women's Final Four tickets sold for about 2 to 3 times as much as the men's Final Four because of what she was doing. And, people aren't watching that unless she's doing some crazy things. So just how the game's evolved with different things and different phases. So with Michael Jordan saying like, it's hard to compare and it's hard to say that, oh, I'm the greatest or he's the greatest or this or that. Like, I really appreciate that. And then you got LeBron James coming out saying, yeah, I'm the greatest of all time. Like, I don't know. There's something that eats me about him. Obviously, the guy's talented. There's no arguing that. But just, I don't know, just how he carries himself and the things he says and how he acts in the public and in the public eye. Like you wouldn't know what political race that Michael Jordan supports. He would never go out and say that. Kind of
Mhm.
like Nick Saban. He's never going to support any politician. He's never going to get involved with that, and he's never going to give you his opinion. And athletes like LeBron James, Michael Jordan, coaches like Nick Saban, they're very influential. And so when they start leaning one way or the other and pushing you one way or the other, it just turns people off that might have a different version of their truth and their opinion. And so, I mean, it's more than just basketball. It's how Michael Jordan included his teammates, demanded from his teammates. I mean, he made people like Steve Kerr and John Paxson and Luke Longley and Charles Oakley look good, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And I mean, LeBron James has literally all stars on his team, and they can't seem to win during the season. Like, and they would never take a game off. That just blows my mind these days. But
Yeah.
as basketball, like Michael Jordan said, it's a different phase, different time. Well, I guess these are the different phases and different times. It's not what I grew up with, so I'm not used to it. So yeah, I take offense to it as a coach. Like you would take a game off, and that might be a coach telling them to do it too. Like I don't know, I'm not in their program. I'm not in those meetings. Like they might just be saying, hey, let's take 2 to 3 weeks here or 2 to 3 weeks there, and I just don't like that one bit. If you're getting paid that much money,
Mhm.
you should be on the court or on the field every single chance you can.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I mean, that's why you look at like the NFL, they utilize the bye week and that's huge. You see a lot of guys like George Kittle kind of talk about how if we're going to extend the season, you should add another bye week. Play from August to the end of December, start the playoffs January or first Sunday of January, first Saturday Sunday. You can start wild card and then get into President's Weekend would be Super Bowl weekend, and everything would work out. But
I
you just
agree.
see, yeah, you see the importance of rest and just kind of the bye week and how influential that is.
It really is. And that makes complete sense to athletes. Where it doesn't make complete sense is to the NFL and the amount of money that they have to make in order to pay their athletes. So I don't want to say they don't care, but I would say the athletes are not their number one priority when it comes to the business side. It's all about money. And hey, if you can't play, well, then the next guy up needs to be able to play. You're an NFL guy. I mean, the 49ers went through 3 different quarterbacks and were able to continue to still be successful. And that just is a perfect example of like, hey, I'm sorry you got hurt, but next guy up, and we need to have these games, and we're going to London, and you're going to Mexico City, and we're playing 17 games, and you get one bye week because we need to fill the stadiums to be able to make these payments and yada yada yada. Like it's pretty obvious that the business side is more important than the player side. It's a really good thing that they have the NFLPA to obviously negotiate for and take care of each other, but it's still pretty obvious where the priority is.
So, kind of gearing track from the NFL to college. Just a quick question. You've been in the North Star a whole bunch, and I know you're a big Notre Dame fan. What would you say is kind of the importance of being in a conference versus playing like independent ball? Because you watch Notre Dame as much as you can on Saturdays, obviously when you're not coaching or having a game, but you're also playing in a conference. You've got those big conference rivalries. You know, Dickinson's a huge rivalry. Um, I'd say everybody's a rival when it comes to the North Star. I mean, we're always kind of going toes with everybody.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even. I know Dickinson's been the conference champ the last, I mean, honestly 6 or 7 years. I actually don't know what it is. They've since they came back in, they haven't lost. I know that, and they're really good, and they're very deep, and they get great retention, and that's a key factor to their success. But I wouldn't even really call them a rival. Like it's just a very, very competitive program and a very important game. I don't want to downplay that at all. But our rival is Dakota Wesleyan, and I do like the fact that it's not a bitter rival. It's a competitive rival, but in a fun spirited way, or at least it is for us. I can't speak for them, but and I would say we have our rival, but it's mainly off of like the team and the coach that we don't like and how they coach their players and how they are and how they carry themselves. And it's evident every year, every cycle of player that's come through there, is dirty and nasty in the same way. And I don't want to say who it is, but it isn't Dickinson. Dickinson is definitely who we want to beat and need to beat in order to be the conference champs. And to answer your question, being a part of a conference is really, really important in the NAI because they don't take strength of schedule and they don't take PowerPoints and things like that. And so you have to win your conference and or have a really good record to get in and be rated in the top 20. In the past, they've since changed that now, but it sure does help to be rated and have a good record to get in. Whereas Notre Dame, just prestige alone. And then, of course, their schedule is extremely tough every year. But they do that on purpose rather than being in a conference because of the rivalries that they've had and they want to continue to keep. So really what they need to do, and at that level, you need to have the record to be able to get into that top four and to get into the Final Four playoffs. And they're obviously going to extend those, but that's one thing that can either really hurt or help Notre Dame because they don't play in a conference championship game. So if Clemson plays in the conference championship game and it's make or break to get in and they happen to lose, well, then a team like Notre Dame can be just sitting right there with a good record waiting to get in. And so it's happened a few times for them. And they've obviously gotten into a national championship game, got throttled by Alabama, but they were there. And those were the years, too, where nobody was beating Alabama. I don't care who you were. It wasn't going to happen. And so, they just – every year you take the good with the bad. It's really a matter of this transfer portal now and who does stick around, and the retention is key. It really is. If you can have fourth, fifth, and now sixth-year seniors with this Rona red shirt that happened, that's the most important thing. You got to have talent, but man, when you have guys that have been in the league long enough and the game starts to slow down in your senior year, it's not easier to win, but it makes you more apt for success because you got guys that know what's happening. You can make a change. You can make an adjustment in the middle of a quarter. You can come off the field, talk about it, and it's done. You don't have to wait for halftime to draw plays up and change different things. You got guys that are experienced and veterans, and that's what you miss now I do miss that in college sports. College football, they don't really stick around for their senior year at the Big Five levels. Yeah. And same with basketball. Like, you miss those days of Duke and Christian Laettner and Kentucky and those battles. And
Absolutely.
And that's why that's why there was a big fit this year about how Florida Atlantic's in there. Well, they have seniors. They have veterans on their team that have stuck around long enough that are playing against sophomores and freshmen from these blue blood schools that aren't as experienced and aren't as talented. And I don't care what anybody thinks, like, that matters. And that's a great example of how it matters. And so it's the same thing happening in the college football. Hopefully you don't see Alabama and Clemson there every year. Hopefully that changes the dynamics of things with teams getting in. And it makes it more interesting to see different teams every now and then.
Absolutely. So kind of talking some DSU here, or just even some college football in general. Got spring ball coming up. What are some things you're kind of super excited about or kind of looking forward to coming in the summer and into the fall here?
Really just keeping our guys around in the summer. The summer is the most important time of the year. It's rough in the fact that we're not in school, so they're not required to be here in Madison in the summer. But those that are dedicated and those that understand how important the summer is and those that understand why they need to be here will make a big difference, and we can't force it on any of them. So it's frustrating because it's never enough. Even if we have good numbers, if it's not everybody, it's not enough. And that really does make a big difference as well, because we were able to get them in the weight room and compete all summer long, as well as they can be together and they can go throw the ball around and time up things on routes and time up things on coverages. And when you have veterans that can line up and teach the younger guys coming in, hey, this is what this means, this is what this route looks like, this is what this back pedal looks like, and this coverage, and this is how you fit, and here's how the formations work and fit. That's crucial, and it's at every level, and that's why Division I levels who offer full rides, they require you to be there all summer long because they're paying for everything, so
Mm-hmm.
they can do that. Whereas, we don't have that kind of money, and so we don't force it on them. We just highly encourage, and then we get what we get, and it's frustrating because, like I said, it's just never enough. But we're looking to get some big things out of the spring as far as like try some new things offensively. Just some minuscule tweaks that have made a big difference are really the important aspect of it. And then after we're done, being able to take a look back and say, okay, this worked or this didn't. You know what? This would work better. Coming up with some ideas. We've had some guys on offense run some wrong routes, and you're like, that's not what you're supposed to do. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, you know what? It's crazy. Somebody runs the wrong route and does the wrong thing. You're like,
Might
I know he
actually
didn't
work.
mean to, and I know he didn't mean to make a point, but that does work better, and let's try that. So, those
Absolutely.
things happen too. Sometimes it's just dumb luck.
Absolutely. So kind of pivoting towards, some, we've kind of talked about the good. You have gone through some struggles at Dakota State University. Kind of talk about how you yourself navigate through kind of a difficult season versus having a successful season, because we all go through kind of those highs and lows.
Yep. Typically, when we have a difficult season, it's because we're very young. Our best seasons have been because we've got more upperclassmen on the field starting and playing than we do younger classmen. And any successful team has that at the NAIA level. And so have we. My first 5 years, we were rifling through freshmen over and over and over and over, and we finally started to get some guys to stick around after a while and buy into the academic side of things rather than just football. Because football sometimes is good and sometimes it's bad for no reason whatsoever. It just happens, And then when you got to get up in the winter when it's cold and you got to lift, like you got to have a reason for being at school, and it better be for academics. It better be a good fit, meaning like it's very low cost. I'm getting the degree I want, and it's setting me up for my future. And I want to then have some fun and playing some football while I'm here. But you got to get bought in. So that's why we've had unsuccessful seasons and we've had hard times. And then if you lose a starter that's an upperclassman, and then you got to plug in a true freshman, they love the game and they work hard, but it's just not the same when you're going against the fourth and fifth year senior who's been lifting in college and playing college ball for that long. It's not going to go very well for you. I don't care how big your ego is. It just isn't going to work. And so, those things matter. Retention, retention, retention. It's super important.
Absolutely, absolutely. When you're a head coach, you're kind of in the main spotlight when it comes to college football. You're going to be the hero. You're also going to be the villain at times, and that's just kind of the role that you got to play and what you sign up for.
Yeah, yeah, I don't. And to go off of that, Cam, I hate that part of it because it happened this year again. Like I had some seniors. We had to change some things up offensively halfway through the year. We started the season 2-3 the first 5 games, and we ended the last 5 games 4-1. It should have been 5-1, but we lost the presentation again. Sometimes for no reason whatsoever, bad things happen, and it was just a crazy night and a crazy game. And if you looked at the stats, we absolutely killed them and somehow lost the game, but it happened. And it's frustrating, but I switched some things up, and it upset some seniors, and probably to the point where like then they're not happy with me and probably won't be my friend and probably won't donate back and probably won't come back to a game, which is unfortunate because we were winning and they weren't getting the ball or they weren't getting the reps and they weren't getting the playing time. And so they were more focused on themselves and, hey, I'm a senior and why just me. And, I got to do what's best for the team, even though some can't see that. Hopefully they'll eventually see it and come around. But I hate the fact that I've lost relationships with really good people. Um, They might not have been the best athletes or the best availability for us to win, and that might not even been their fault, right? We had a young offensive line, and for us to be able to protect our quarterbacks was tough. So then throwing the ball was tough, and we needed to run the ball and we needed to kill the clock and not hurt our defense and set up our field position because we had a really good punter. And like all those things matter. And those are the scheme things and the chess match that I'm constantly playing. And it has nothing to do with even my own personal feelings. I love big shot plays and deep passes, but we weren't having any of those. I don't know if we had any. We had one big run play this last year, and just things didn't go our way offensively, even though we were more productive than the year before. But it does hurt my feelings to lose friendships that way, but the team is far more important than even, like I said, even my own feelings. So,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So kind of just pivoting, we were talking about you kind of being the main spotlight center of attention on a team at times. Let's kind of pivot on some people who don't really get the spotlight. Some unsung heroes on a team. Athletic trainers, student assistants, grad assistants, the offensive line, strength and conditioning coaches. Kind of anybody who you want to give a special shout out to.
I would agree with all that, Cam. You're spot on, and going through the program, you've seen it before too, right? Even our assistant coaches, we don't have near as many duties outside of coaching football, which is awesome, but we're not paid very well. Like you could leave college football as an assistant coach and go work you can go work in Rutland and make more money. A town of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
nothing, and go make more money. I don't think that's fair at all. But I'm also not in charge of salary, and I've pushed for years for my assistants. But like you said earlier, I'm the longest tenured coach here and in South Dakota. There was only one that has coached at a place longer than me, was John Stiglmeyer at SDSU, and he's now since retired. I'm still the least salary paid head football coach in the state. Longest tenured, least paid, right? Can't do it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be great to get paid more. It'd be great to get this and that, but that's not a knock on things. It's just a frustrating part of it. But luckily I'm not money driven, so it doesn't really matter to me. But so yes, my assistants are super important. Our athletic training staff is always overworked, always. And there's three of them, and they have to deal with a plethora of students and the timing of things, and they do a fantastic job on all of our athletes and spreading out their time and wealth. And they get very little free time during the year until the summer comes. So they just get overworked and overwhelmed, but they are loved and appreciated. Our strength staff is no different, and they have to work 12 months out of the year. They're working year round, and it's crazy how important they are because they are around our athletes, the athletic training staff and the strength staff, especially because the strength staff does go year round. They have them all year long. They're super important. Our academic staff, Dana Hoff, Stacy Anderson, and then my own staff, and then academic advisors at DSU, making sure our guys, you know how us guys are, like getting us to buy into, hey, do more work and come to study tables and be happy and have a good attitude. And you're like, man, to be able to motivate and continue to help, super important. And then our booster club in town, like they've got their own lives and their own businesses and their own kids. And so for them to donate their time and money to what we're doing, like crucial. Our foundation has done a great job of finding, communicating, working with donors and future donors and getting people more involved. We've had people come out of the woodwork now with all the success we've been having, and it's really important to tap into that when the time is right, and they've done that. Our president has just smashed it since she's been here. We've got new buildings all over the place. We got new athletic facilities coming in, and it's all happened since she has showed up. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing what she's done and how smart she is and how important she has been to all parts of DSU. Our athletic staff in the office with our athletic director as well and his staff, they work continuously, probably more than anybody other than, our strength staff that works year round. And like everybody's doing their part, and it's really important. And then we don't have enough staff, so then having people like you, Cam, that's come help us out as student assistants and graduate assistants and just interns, having as much good character people helping you out. You just don't understand it until you're a head coach, until you get that kind of help and quality help and time and how important it is. I could just rattle off names of people who will help me out for free and gone out of their way to help us out for free. So our strength staff, our athletic staff, our foundation, our president's office and business office, our athletic staff office, the teachers on campus who have bought into trying to help and be understanding of student athletes' time. If you're a college professor and you think, oh, it's just my class and that's it, and you don't offer extra time and extra assistance, shame on you. But if you're helping all athletes and all kids that are part of extracurricular things, whether it's esports or a club, or I don't care if it's a computer club or theater, like you need to give kids the benefit of the doubt and give them extra time and give them extra help. Those are the teachers that are really important and really make the impact. And then our maintenance staff too, keeping the building right and keeping everything up to speed. Honestly, I can't stop. I won't be able to name everybody, and I'll feel terrible when I'm done because everybody plays a role and everybody's important. And then there's the lunch staff, right? Putting the right food out and making sure there's good food and guys aren't getting sick. And when I first got here, we didn't have buffet style, Cam. It was a la carte. Like you had to go in and pay for everything you got. Everything you got, milk, fruit, food, whatever you got, you had to pay for separately. And guys ran out of money halfway through the season and they were losing weight. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why aren't you lifting hard? And they're like, I'm not eating. I'm like, well, go eat. And they're like, I got any money. And I'm like, oh my God. So I go to the business office and I'm saying, this is ridiculous. All these other schools in our state system have buffet style eating. What are we doing? They're like, you're right. And all I had to do was go ask. And then it changed, so
For sure.
Nobody else knows that. I don't really care. Right? It's about helping everybody, our students, our student athletes, just anybody that needed that kind of assistance and help. And the point is, our business office and our vice presidents and presidents were very receptive to that and willing to help. And that's why I've been here this long, is because people are willing to help people succeed. If it weren't that way, I'd have been gone a long time ago.
For sure. Just so shout out Dakota State University.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, Dakota State, the city of Madison, and our alumni, because they're all over the place. But yeah, I mean, if we're going to break it down, yes, all of DSU, the city of Madison, and our donors for sure.
You got a donor and alumni in my living room out there. So shout out Troy Belton.
Yep, Troy's a big man.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Anyway, so a little quick fun one. We're both South Dakota guys. I mean, you're Sodak Bison. So Mount Rushmore is a big thing. I like to have my guests pick Mount Rushmore. So you get to pick the theme and then whatever four that you want.
Well, I would go with sports, obviously. Plethora here though, kind of one from each. And, my top four, my Mount Rushmore, I mean, number one is Michael Jordan, hands down. And then two, like immediately right behind him, kind of a 1A, is Tom Brady. I mean, I'm not a Patriots fan. I'm really not a Tom Brady fan, but I love everything about what he's done and how he's lasted as long as he has, and as many different teammates as he's had, and still found ways to find success after everybody's counted him out. And then my last two, it'd be kind of crazy here, but in baseball would actually be Nolan Ryan.
Oh,
the guy's incredible. He's pitched till he was 134 years old and still throwing heat, and just his tenacity and his work ethic, and he's the greatest of all time in baseball pitchers. And then my fourth one, this might throw you for a loop here too, but Michael Phelps.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
For the 4 Olympics in a row, and then all the medals he had, and the one broke the record there, but still just continues to stack them up, like literally the greatest swimmer of all time.
Yeah, it's crazy, and all those athletes are just highly decorated in their entire field. So it just goes to show that their work ethic, their drive to be a champion is just unmatched.
Yeah, I hate to age myself, but I love the fact that there's all these arguments about who's the greatest this of all time in every sport, and I got to watch them all growing up in one way or another. Other than Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain are the only two that I really didn't get to watch, but I've seen enough highlights and stuff where it's just kind of cool to see. But I love the fact that I've got to watch some of the greatest sports moments of all time.
Absolutely. My parents were living in Chicago during the '90s of the Bulls, and never got to go to a game, unfortunately, because those tickets were just
Wow.
through the roof, and they were young and ex- they were just so expensive for them. They just had my sister, so it was hard for them. But they got to witness, downtown Chicago during the roaring Bulls of the '90s and '95, '96, and all that stuff. So very
That would
cool.
have been fun just to be a part of that environment like that. How cool. Just even to go to a bar, I bet that was packed and just the
Oh
excitement
yeah.
and attitude in there, like I remember being I was at the South Dakota All-Star football game in Aberdeen, and we were watching in the northern state dorm rooms. We were watching the Phoenix Suns play the Chicago Bulls in the finals, and just the intensity when Charles Barkley was on those teams, and
Round mound to
gosh, it was
rebound.
it was just so fun to watch those games. Like I don't know why, but they were just so much different than they are now. Good or bad, that's for everybody's opinion to have. But I miss how it used to be.
Yeah. I even when I used to play noon ball up in Madison, I was that rim bully. I'm not scoring any. I'm not looking to score points. I'm getting boards, and I'll throw some fouls if I need to.
The crazy part is the noon ball in Madison is actually good basketball. People box out, they play
Mm,
defense, they set picks. They shoot good shots. You can tell when the men's basketball season at DSU is over because then they come in and it's all give me the ball, I'll shoot it everywhere, and it's like, oh gosh,
yeah.
that's about the worst time to go. But other times after that, like the basketball at Madison High School has been so good, and so when those guys come back, it's really good and fun basketball to play. Actually,
Yeah. I mean, I can remember countless times at Sioux Falls Christian where we're just dreading playing that Madison Bulldogs. So
remember those times too when if you won our region from Sioux Falls Christian, Del Rapids, and Madison, I mean you were
yeah.
almost guaranteed the state championship. You had to still go win it, but like
Yeah.
that was the toughest part was coming out of that region.
Yeah, yeah. Always at the Elman Center was Del Rapids, Sioux Falls Christian, and Madison for
Yep.
like 8 years in a row.
Yeah, and everybody that won, the teams that went and won the state championship, and I don't know why it took them so long to change things up. It was frustrating because even if Madison won, right, knowing like okay, Sioux Falls Christian or Del Rapids, like they should be in too. Like this should be we should see this game again in 2 weeks in the state championship. It's
Yeah,
but hey, those were the rules.
absolutely. So final question here. Just kind of thought of it. So you are a role model, and kind of everybody kind of a lot of guys look up to you as a head coach. We see you a lot. We see you those 4 years of college. We almost see either you or Vass more than we see our own parents. So what are kind of some coaches or some guys that you look up to now to kind of help you guide these guys into becoming a man?
I don't know if I have one particular coach that I search out. I've had some really good coaches along the way that have guided me. I've had a lot of coaches along the way that have shown me what not to do as well. And you learn from everybody you meet in life, especially in your profession, but literally everybody you meet in life of how to treat a waitress, how to treat a partner, how to treat a player or just anybody. And really, I guess through social media, like Nick Saban's been a really good one because he gets asked his opinion an awful lot on a lot of different subjects, and he's very educated and well thought out when he answers something. Not just because he's had success, but he's got a purpose and a reason for literally everything, every situation, every answer. I've really enjoyed like listening to him. I've seen him at a few clinics. Um, him and now, honestly, like Coach Prime, the stuff he puts out there is extremely motivational. He always seems so arrogant and overconfident, and I mean, he was incredibly good, so I can understand why. But him as a coach, what a motivator! I mean, he nails it on the head too. About how to act and how to treat women and how to get to class and how you're gonna what to wear and how you're gonna look and just how you treat each other. Like I've really enjoyed listening to him lately. Obviously, my own dad has been fantastic in his words and opinions. My own staff, I love getting their opinions because I know I'm not always right, and I know a lot of our athletes will go to them before they come to me. It's just how it is in a comfortability situation. And the things that they share, I've really taken value in that. I wish I'd have done that a lot earlier in my career. When I started out, when I was young, I had all the answers. It's crazy how it goes just the opposite. When I started, I was stubborn and had all the answers. I wanted this, and this, and this. And now, I've grown to understand like I do not. I do not have all the answers. I want to hear everybody's opinion. I want to hear the players' opinions. I want to hear the strength staff, the athletic staff, the academic staff. I love to get my athletic director's opinion. My friends' opinions that understand football and things. I want to hear it all so then I can make a better decision and a better choice. My wife has been fantastic in all that. You want to talk about an unsung hero? I mean, coaches' wives more than anything, having to put up with us and still be strong and raise the kids during football season and be everywhere at all times. Wives are amazing. But my wife has really been my head assistant coach forever, and I value her opinion. I don't know if you were here when Jacob Giles took over as a quarterback, but I was kind of hung up on it. We were at halftime, and I walked in, and I know right where she parks and stuff, and I went over. As everybody was walking in at halftime, I went over and talked to her in the vehicle, and I just said, "What do you think?" And just her opinion was the reason that was the reason I pulled the cord and made it happen right there. It was because of what she said to me. And so ended up being really big and really important. So I'll take all the credit, obviously, but
Oh yeah, for sure.
so, that's the one thing. If I were to ever talk to Coach, I've talked to plenty actually, but if anybody were ever to listen to me, it'd be listening to that. Like start off being open. You're young, you want to prove yourself and you want to prove this and prove that. Well, then listen to people, take as much in as you can and then make a decision. Don't jump the gun, sleep on it if you have to. So important.
Absolutely. So before I let you go, do you have any other questions for me?
Well, what are your plans? Where are you taking this thing? What do you got cooking otherwise?
That's a great question. I'm looking to kind of take this a little bit more into some vlogging, some on the road stuff. So I'm heading to Lincoln this Saturday. It'll be the second part of this video will be that. So doing some stuff on the road. Maybe getting some like live on the street kind of responses. Asking them maybe some trivia questions. Going to the Nebraska Michigan game on the 30th of September, so that'll be a good one. And then just kind of seeing what else I can do. Like I like talking sports. I give a lot of bold takes that a lot turn out to be true. So that's kind of one thing that I like to do. So that's
Cam,
one thing I like to take.
man, I love it and good for you. And whatever idea you have, run with it and do it and make mistakes. It's just the same. Sometimes it's going to happen for you in the fact that like, yeah, I don't think this will work and I don't want to do it. And it ends up being like the most important thing you did, or maybe you made a mistake. And then like I told you, like those receivers running the wrong route. And it's like, that's not right. But then I'm like, oh, you know what though?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that. And you don't know unless you do. So do, right? Do it. Make mistakes. Go 100 miles an hour, have 1,000 ideas, and do them all, and find out what sticks and what doesn't, and what you enjoy, and be passionate about everything. When you make a mistake, laugh about it, and you put it out there. Put yourself out there on a mistake, or have a highlight reel of like bloopers. You know what I mean? Like, just, you never know what's going to stick and what's going to land on it for you. Try not to do what everybody else does. Take good ideas that everybody else does, but like, just roll with it, man. Like, fire away. If it doesn't work, you know what you did? You put your balls out there, and you made it happen, and you tried, and hopefully it'll take you somewhere else. You know what I mean? Or this goes big, or just maybe you just do this long enough where it's fun for you. That's the main thing. And that's kind of what I was alluding to with my salary. Like, yeah, it is what it is, but like, I love it. I love
Mm-hmm.
it here. I don't want to leave. And that's the problem. Like, in a South Dakota Board of Regents school, there's no incentive to win, or at least there isn't at DSU, because, like David Moe goes to the Final Four for the first time ever, and it's like, hey man, good job. And he's like, yeah, I love it. Your incentive to win here is if you want to move on, then I need to do well so I have a good record. I do good things so I can move on. But what if you don't want to move on? What if you want to stay here at DSU and do really well, right? Well, thank you for your time. That's what you get, And it's like, okay, well, you need to know that that's at, and then still push yourself, and still follow ideas, and still try different things, and still do other things. And that's kind of what I'm saying is like, even if you don't make money or big things off this, like, whatever, dude, like, have
Mm-hmm.
fun, do everything, be everywhere, and just do it all. You're going to piss people off along the way. I hope so. I hope you do. But not me. You know what I mean?
For sure. Well, before I let you go quick, I gotta show you this. My mom made me this for Christmas
Oh
a
man.
couple years ago. So you're always on my wall.
Oh. Hey, the big cup, baby. Yeah. I tell you
There
what,
you
though, those memories, they're the greatest. The times you had with your college buddies and playing football, and the stories and the bus trips, and oh my God, there's nothing better. They're really, you know, when you're single.
go. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes,
So
definitely.
that's just, and you look back on those. My wife is like, how do you remember that stuff? I could take you play by play through my high school games and my college games. I mean, she's just like, unbelievable. You can't remember what I just told you when you walk in the other room, but you could walk me through that. It's like, I don't want to be mean,
It's
but I remember important stuff. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's yeah. The things that mean the most to me.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. Your mom, she's a fantastic photographer. So those are some cool shots that she's got of you there.
For sure. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. She gets to show me some cool things too with some cameras. So
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, man, live, learn, have fun. I've been trying to tell my own kid, like, these swimsuit models and Sports Illustrated, somebody's got to take the picture. And that means you get to go to these exotic locations
yeah.
and hang around with beautiful people. And people think, oh, a photographer, that's boring and stupid. Like, no, not if you're doing that,
Mm,
or, if you get to go to every single game and sit courtside or be on the sideline of football games because you're a reporter, or you're holding a cord, or you're taking notes or taking pictures, and you get to be there, how cool,
mm-hmm.
like, just, there's so many different avenues to be a part of sports that matter. Even if you're not a coach or the player or in the program, like, there's other ways to enjoy refing, just, I love it. And so I've been trying to point that out to him too. Like, just get involved, try it, try
Mm-hmm.
whatever, whenever.
Don't need an athlete. You don't need to be an athlete to be a part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, you don't, and you just need to love the game. That's it. Whatever sport it is, too.
Absolutely. Well, I don't really want to take any more of your time. I know you're a busy man, so I'll let you go here. But thank you very much for your time, and
Well,
we'll
yeah,
talk to
and
you
like
again.
I said, I mean, hopefully you have a lot more people to talk to. But if you ever need to kill some time, whatever, I'll be happy to jump on again.
Absolutely. I've got plenty more that we can talk about, so
Oh, I
we'll
can
get
talk
you on for
sports
sure.
all the time, man. I've got an opinion for everything.
Awesome. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that interview. Was a really good one. Would gonna have Coach A on the show again for sure. So tune in. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun together. I got way more questions planned up, like I said in the interview. So tune in. stick around. It'll be a fun time. Uh, so like I said, hope you enjoy the show. Please stick around for next episode. Tell your mom you love them. Goodbye.
Hey, you. Yeah, you, I'm talking to you. Hope you liked that episode. If you liked it, please leave a like and a comment down below. And if you want to explore more, we got more videos right here and right here. So please tune in and watch more of the We Know Ball show, as well as our monthly preview show, The Wrap Up, where we go through kind of some history of sports as well as kind of what happened throughout the month and kind of what we're looking forward to in the future. So thanks, everybody. Have a great night.